Jack-in-the-pulpit growing all over. It's a continuation of my wild edible series. And today we're going to talk about a absolutely gorgeous plant, one of my favorites. It's called the Jack-in-the-pulpit. A very young Jack-in-the-pulpit. Now before we get too far, I'm describing the plant because it is an extremely unique plant. This really enjoys moist, rich soils. It doesn't like dried out, depleted soils at all. You won't find it very much in woodlands either. It really enjoys the forest lands. Forest lands, thickets, and you can even find it in the muddy swamps of the North Country. But you can find this plant growing, well, anywhere from Quebec all the way out to Manitoba. And you can find it growing all the way south and through Kansas, Tennessee. You can even find this plant in South Carolina. But you see, it's got kind of a reddish brown and green stem. Stems are rather thick and rubbery. They come straight up out of this sheath. See the sheath covering here? Earlier in this video clip you saw the shoots coming up, and they had those brown heavy sheaths around them. But what happens is they break open and the leaves, the stems, grow up out of them. And the leaves are divided into three. See that? 3 glossy leaves, no hair whatsoever on this plant. Very graceful, shiny leaves. The undersides are just as shiny. You can see the rib pattern on them. And normally the plant has one, sometimes like this one here, actually most often like this one here, you've got 2 leaf stalks that come up, bearing 3 leaves each. And then in the center, you have the flower. Now the flower is this hollow tube with a little lip. Comes over the top, and you can see it's striped. On the inside, when you lift it up, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Got the purple tiger stripes. And right inside, you have the bulb, also purplish in color. Now, most Jack-in-the-pulpits, once they have their flowers on, because usually the first years, sometimes even second years, you won't find flowers. You'll only find these stalks with the leaves sticking there. But after the first year, sometimes after the second year, depending on where you are, the flower will grow up. And they'll grow between 1 and even up to 3 feet tall. Alright, now here's another one, and you can see in the early stages, see when the flower opens, the leaves are still pointing straight up in the air. Now when these continue to grow and the leaves unfurl more, these stems will splay out to the sides, and you'll have an absolutely perfect Jack-in-the-pulpit. Leaves unfurl, but you'll notice on this one, remember the other one had the deep maroon? Well, this one here still has stripes, but they're green, and on the inside it's very pale, and the bulb in there is also green all the way down. See that? So they can vary in color from pale green all the way up to a real dark, rich maroon or purple color. And you'll see this here. This one has a very large sheath going from the base all the way up to the base of the flower, where the other one's sheath stopped about halfway up the stem. Now the only thing edible on the Jack-in-the-pulpit is the bulb. The bulb, which grows fairly deep in the ground, you have to usually dig it up with a digging stick. The bulb can be all the way up to the size of a walnut shell. Now that walnut shell bulb at the base of these plants has a brown papery sheath on it, and inside the papery sheath is a white bulb. But that bulb is filled with calcium oxalate. Now, if you eat that bulb raw, it will end up irritating the membranes of your mouth and throat. And you can also, if you're allergic to it, or more allergic than others, you can end up getting severe swelling in the mouth and throat region. So you do not want to eat this bulb when it is raw. The only way that you can get rid of the calcium oxalate is to completely dry the bulb. Thoroughly dry it. The best way to do that is to slice it up and then set it out in your oven or in the sun or next to the fire to dry completely. Once it's completely dried, you can pound it up into a flour or add it to soups and stews if you want. But the flour actually has a cocoa-like flavor to it, much like water avens and the root of skunk cabbage. In most areas this is a very rare plant. However, in Vermont, in the mountains here, there are quite a few Jack-in-the-pulpit growing all over, so I can and do harvest them. However, be very, very sure that there are plenty of these plants around before you harvest them, because like I said, in many areas they are very rare. And that is the only thing edible on the Jack-in-the-pulpit. So if you take that bulb, obviously you will kill the plant. But it is one of the few plants in North America that you can find a part of it that tastes a little bit like cocoa. Of course, you can greatly enhance that flavor with any of the sweet tree saps, birch, sugar maples, things like that. From May, and they'll last into June. And then another amazing thing happens with this plant. In the mid to late summer, it gets a stalk with a cluster, a large cluster of bright scarlet red shiny berries. Those are the seeds. The berries are not edible. Well, that's about it for Jack-in-the-pulpit. Like I said, it has a very limited use, and it's a very unique plant. Like I said, again, one of my favorites. One of the only places you can get a cocoa-like flavor out of the North American plants. But you have to make sure that you dry that root or you will be sorry. This is White Wolf, Ways of the Wild Institute. If you are interested in any of our workshops or learning CDs or online courses, please visit our website at waysofthewildinstitute.com. Willa Mollison, be well and happy.